for tuning in to my official YouTube channel, Reverend MeeLing. Reverend Susan MeeLing, Lady MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle. A few names that I've been known by over the years, nonetheless. So I was listening to a comedian on the phone app thingamabob. See how not techie, whatever it's called, on the phone. The guy was talking about medication. He's ADHD and stuff like that. And he was describing how he's tried explaining certain things. And I know that, obviously, in that regard, I am not the only person who has attempted to explain various aspects of medical stuff so that way people have an understanding. Now, I tried explaining to people in the state of Texas before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. If they didn't like what I was saying at the time, and they thought I was too blunt, they needed to understand that before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, where I grew up, what I was saying was filtered, was calm, was so calm. And when they asked me why I could say that, I gave them examples, and quite a few to be more specific. So, I gave them the example in regards to a guy I was in high school with, and all I saw was a handprint on his face. I asked him what happened, and he told me that a female had asked him to the Sadie Hawkins Day dance, and he said no, and then another female, who was an actual friend of his, had asked him to take her to the Sadie Hawkins Day dance to make her ex-boyfriend jealous. And so then the first female who had asked him to the Sadie Hawkins Day dance slapped him in the face. And I asked who, and he said her name, and I walked over there and I picked up the cafeteria lunch table and threw it. And then, got into that particular junior varsity cheerleader's face, and we just talked. I should clarify that. I whispered in a very low tone of voice, explaining to her how that was unacceptable, and then talked a little bit, or whispered a little bit more, and then walked over to where the cafeteria table was, picked it up, put it back in place, walked over to my friend, sat down, asked him if he was cool. He was, yeah. Asked him if he needed anything from the lunch line, and he said no. And then I got up and went on my merry little way. Another example I gave was different situations in regards to, I've discussed in prior videos in reference to a guy using the N-word when looking in my direction, not knowing somebody was behind me, and didn't matter that, it did, but it didn't, because it was just one of those, where I come from, you don't use that word, and I handled that. Irony of ironies, Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., thought the NAACP meant something else, and I told him, I don't think that it means that, and I don't think you should use that word. And he told me, again, that portion is after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, he told me that he thought it was a funny joke. And I told him I didn't think that was a funny joke. And we got into it back and forth. And then I dealt with a conversation from who is now my dead ex-husband. So I'll just leave that one at that. But that gives you that understanding and that explanation in that regard really quickly. And so, but then again, Cactus Jack, also known as Jeffrey Kirkendall Jr., did have that thing about, the World War II reenactment and being on the German side instead of, the American side. And having to absolutely have the authentic stuff in comparison to just, recreated stuff or whatever. Anyway, so in regards to in the state of Texas and a whole bunch of people saying, oh, you need to have a filter. Well, I was on a whole bunch of medication on top of after my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. Like I was on so much medication. I was on so much medication from the year of 2000 through to 2013 that what my now dead ex-husband was on when he had his medication was nothing compared to the amount of pills I had to take on a daily basis. I was on so much medication that I had to get the month pill boxes for like the 3" by 3" by 3" for each square of the month. And that was, the first week was the early morning medication. The second week was, the afternoon medication. The third week was, the early evening medication. And the fourth week was just before bed. And then the emergency week one or the travel week, those were the emergency pills. That's how much medication I was on from 2000 all the way to 2013. So for all those individuals who are like, ugh, your mouth, you just need a filter. And then, now... And if any of those individuals, hypothetically, who had caused such issues in the state of Texas before I wound up in Washington State, hypothetically had caused problems not only for my Medal of Honor art project, but hypothetically went to where I was volunteering at, and then were completely surprised. First and foremost, I had discussed how I have issues with technology and how I literally had a laptop catch on fire in my lap. And again, I cannot tell a lie. I couldn't tell a lie before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000. I definitely cannot now. And there is that guy who is capable of very much verifying how that was absolutely fried because it caught on fire. And since, I got the e-cigarette thing, I'm sure there might have been a person or two who could give that example, but, that wasn't a laptop when they were using an e-cigarette. So there's that particular aspect. And then there's the other aspect of how much MMJ, or also known as medical marijuana, had helped so much. Like, it actually did very much help me in, number one, regards to the amount of electrocution that I was dealing with. And number two, the after effects of, when I landed at the bottom of the ocean and my headaches and migraines in that regard on top of the electrocution. And number three, my mood. Yes, it really helped my mood. So like my temper tantrums and stuff like that, despite having to learn how to focus my energy and all that sort of stuff, it kept me so much calmer in comparison. Plus, I was far more social than I am in this regard. Hypothetically speaking. That being said, in regards to, the aspects of the warnings that I tried explaining to people in the state of Texas. I also discussed stuff as far as what I could remember when growing up in New Jersey, despite the fact that people told me, well, we want examples, but we don't want to hear about how you're from New Jersey. Well, if you want examples, that means I have to discuss New Jersey, because the majority of my life before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000 was in New Jersey. So for you to tell me you want me to give you examples but then not discuss New Jersey, what would you like me to discuss? Because like from my conception all the way until like 1998 and like the middle of 1998, I grew up in New Jersey and walking around the 5 boroughs of New York City, and then Philadelphia and Pennsylvania and Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania. So if you want like examples, it's pretty simple. Like, I'm not the only person who at that time or now lived it or lives in the state of Texas that was born and raised in New Jersey and or going around those particular areas that could give you that example of I am really, really nice. And I don't mean in the Anna way, I mean like genuinely nice. I'm genuinely nice. And in comparison to the stuff that had come out of my mouth, in comparison to when growing up in New Jersey, there are guys from Illinois who could be like, wait, she doesn't like, she's not using any of the swear words. Like every other word when speaking in a sentence, she is so nice. And not in the Anna way, like genuinely, because they could be very much be like, you know, we almost thought she had Tourette's with how much she swore. But instead, you know, it was just because she was born and raised in New Jersey. And that's all that was. And then, you know, studying for the aspects of the military. And there's that. And there's probably a military guy or two who could be like, is that all she said? Is that it? That's it? That's all she said was that? I had this one guy who every other word was something that was not a swear word if he was in a good mood. If he was not in a good mood, he'd go like a paragraph equivalent of swear words, and then you'd get like the word the instead of, and then a whole bunch more swear words, and then you, and then, and then he'd realize that he messed up his sentence, so he'd restart. All over again. Maybe there's a military guy somewhere who could relate to that at some way at all. So then, you know, when people in the state of Texas, especially from, you know, 2000, well, technically 2001, through to 2012 mainly, but also 2013, in regards of, you know, well, why don't you give us another example? Like, who raised you? Oh, if you ever met my biological father, he is on medication now. So he's really nice, and I don't mean in the Anna way. I mean, he's genuinely nice compared to what I grew up with. Well, give me an example. Well, when he's gotten mad at me, since, you know, they moved to the state of Texas, he didn't pick up a filing cabinet full of jewelry tools to throw at me. You know, whereas I was nice in Illinois, I threw the cafeteria table away from the individual. In comparison, I'm just throwing that out there, pun intended. And so, you know, in that regard, in another reference, you know, he didn't beat me with the metal end of the belt buckle when he was mad at me and blaming me for what Patricia did. There's another example. Another example is, he didn't pick up a radial arm saw and like throw it at me. There's another example. So is that good enough for you? And then I wound up being told, Nobody has ever had a dad that's that violent. I have, I beg to differ on that. I would guesstimate you'd actually be surprised how privileged of a life you must have lived if you never got beaten with anything like that. And then it was, nobody's ever been beaten with the metal end of the belt buckle. I have, and sadly, I know I'm not the only one. Just saying. Well, give us an example in regards to your mom couldn't be that bad. Oh, okay, you want to go into that one. Okay, well, she had a container of wooden spoons that she kept underneath the kitchen, like in the bottom portions of the kitchen. Like each of the different areas, she had like a little container full of wooden spoons, just in case the whichever ones she was using had broken, get another one. And if we weren't in the kitchen, oh, it really sucked when we were in the bedroom, because then like her go-to was like the metal coat hangers, and those hurt. Oh, those are the equivalent of the metal end of the belt buckle, I'm just saying. And so nobody's mom would do that. Well, I beg to differ, because I grew up with that. And sadly, I know that I am not the only one who dealt with that. Sadly. And so, no. Okay, give us another example. Okay. My biological sister, well, isn't she younger than you? Yes, but she's the favorite. Like, everybody, looked at her and was like, oh, she actually looks Asian, and then there's you, and so, and then she'd do stuff on purpose, knowing that she could blame it on me, and then I'd get beaten for it, and then she'd sit there, watch me being beaten, and laugh. And then, when getting upstairs later on, then she'd go and beat on me because she knew that I couldn't say anything, because if I went and said something, well, why are you saying that? Then, if I was lucky, if I wasn't, which a lot of times at that point especially, don't lie about your sister. I can't lie. And then, then I get beaten some more. So it's just one of those, well, I'll just stop. Because, my brother. So, but people didn't want to listen to me on that. They didn't think that I was, like, telling the truth. And it was one of those, no, I'm telling you the truth. I cannot tell a lie. Like, I can't. I don't know, I don't know why you would think I could. But, yeah, I guess that's a you thing in regards to you, lying and stuff like that. And you think that that's that projection thing, I would guesstimate. However, yeah. I'd say I'm sorry, I can't tell a lie, which it is kind of true, because, to be able to get away with that, and then, I can't. So, there's that. So I had a whole bunch of people that were like, especially in certain communities, Lady Dori, Belle, do you really have to talk like that? How else do you expect me to speak? Well, when I read what you've written online, well, your words are, not swearing and all. Well, yeah, that's the filter you get. And even that's kind of, I put asterisks in regards to, or different symbols to be like, respectful. Nonetheless, I still, you don't know what happens when I'm typing. And so, just saying. And so, like, if there's a couple of dots in a row, you never know if that's a swear or a whole bunch of swearing. Like, you don't know. And so that's me being nice. And so, if you really want to take a look at that, you'll be able to be like, well, 2020 being the year, go look at that and see how many dots there are. And you can pretty much, go and revert to the earlier points I made in regards to those military guys. And a whole bunch of swear words. Not always, but yeah. And so, well, you need a filter. Whether it was Susan, whether it was Lady Dori, Belle, it don't matter. You need a filter. I am so nice. And I don't mean in my biological mother way. I am telling you. Like, if you were to actually have the capability to know just a teeny tiny little itty fairy-sized amount of what I think on a daily basis, you'd be like, you know what? Speak all you want. Never mind. I thought, that you were just, never mind. You so much. Can we go? And since it's 2020, it's the 31st of May in 2020. Can we go back to the time? No, we can't. No, we cannot go back in time. No, we cannot. So the options are, you deal with it. Because I've been dealing with my headaches and migraines and memory deficits and cognitive disorders, and having gone from college algebra with trigonometry and calculus to second grade math since waking up from my coma from my Palm Sunday 2000 head injury, well, I guess since it's 2020 for 20 years. And just when, I figured a way to deal with that, well, then, okay. CID guys, go contact the Pentagon. Okie dokie. Apparently that's, sure. Tacoma police. Go contact the FBI. Okie dokie. While I'm at it, I'll contact this, I'll contact this, I'll contact this, and I'll contact, and while I'm at it, I'll contact this, and I'll contact this, and you know what, I'm going to contact this guy, and I'm going to contact this guy, and I'm going to contact this guy, and probably just almost as fast as emails, with the exception of not having the exact same address. In the same way. Nonetheless, okay, well, here, is this, go contact, okay, well, while I'm doing that, I'll contact this guy, I'll contact this guy, and I'll contact this guy, and I'll contact this guy, and I'll contact this, you know what? I'm gonna contact this guy too. Not being sexist, just an East Coast term. And so, for all the individuals that were like, oh, you so need a filter. See how much I was telling the truth back then? You see? See? Because I have an ocean tattoo right here. Just saying. So, see how nice I was? See? Yeah. And I can't take those medications because they didn't help my headaches or migraines. No, they didn't. And I've been on so many medications that not just all that, pill stuff that I discussed, that the VA is just now starting the medications and stuff that I had been on back in 2004. So, just saying, it's not like I didn't do everything I could or try. So, all those individuals over all those years, throughout all those places and events. Oh, Lady Dori, Belle. Oh, Susan, you just need to. Oh, why don't you tell me what I need to do? Go ahead. Oh, I tried that. Oh, why don't you give me something new? Oh, I already tried that. Oh, that works for you? What is that like for that to work for you? Wow, it actually does that? That's not what it did for me, but hey, that's cool, that works for you. Oh, when did you get prescribed that? Oh, I got prescribed that back in 2000. That works for you? Fantastic. Oh, that works for you? Oh, what's that like? Oh, that's not what happened with me. That's fantastic. So, cool. That, what? Oh, you want me to try that? Oh, I did that and, oh, it's kind of difficult to review certain aspects and be like, oh, I mean, I only had, and that 3" by 3" by 3" box, for the pill boxes, that was in 2009. So by 2010, I had a second box set like that for the early morning, early afternoon, and so on and so forth. So I've been on a few medications, trying to go along with various doctor's orders and prescription attempts and so on and so forth. See how nice I really am in comparison. And so, I learned how to do certain things that focus my energy elsewhere. However, it's still, it is what it is on that. And that's another, those who are, those who have that military background and or grew up in certain types of locations understand that it is what it is the equivalent of really pretty, eloquent words. So pretty. And so, all those individuals over the years, you just, well, why don't you take a breath? I've been breathing this whole time. I don't know what type of breath you want me to take. I'll just say. But okay, hold on. Yeah, I still am feeling the exact same way. Okay. So, So yeah, I did. And then one time, there was one time there were many times I was in the smoking section, but there was one time in the smoking section, somebody had used the term again, you need a filter. And I was holding a freshly lit cigarette. You see my filter? That's the filter right there. That's my filter. See? Right there. There's the filter for my cigarette and my nicotine. Now, if someone were to ever say that, which I haven't, but the coil, that's my filter. And see, I'm breathing. And so, technically, And so, I've done what I could over all these years. And while some people have told me, well, that's not long enough, mainly from, 2001 through 2012, well, you haven't tried enough. Really? Do you know my medical records? Have you gone through my medical records? No, you have not. Okay, well, I would guesstimate that the medical records I did receive are really, really tiny compared to my actual medical records by a lot. And so I would guesstimate that, just if you were to print out all of my medical records, it would probably literally cut down like 3 trees for just my medical records. Just of the prescriptions and the responses for the appointments thereof, ironically. And so, I've had so many individuals, I can't count that high, over the years, that were just, why do you have to? Who did you go? Why? And if you actually would listen to the words that came out of my mouth, I've explained it a bunch of times. I have. You're choosing not to listen. Well, if you would just not repeat yourself. Well, if you would just listen to what I said and let it actually sink into your brain. And then, that is so mean. No, that's very nice. Again, that is filtered because because compared to the thoughts of how I actually wanted to say that, again, referring to earlier in what I said in regards to East Coast and combined with the military, take this entire book and that's just, a whole bunch of swear words to get out one word, and then, take that and that's a whole bunch of other words to get to the next word of one sentence, and then take that and, you got a whole bunch of others for one word, and, just as an example, just hypothetically. So, I've done a whole bunch in comparison to what people have at the various times wanted to believe incorrectly. And so, all those times where it was you're just not trying hard enough. Who are you to judge me as to how hard I have tried? I mean, just throw this out there. And, I'm just saying. Ironically, special forces, certain ... not swear word, but ... those military guys understand that, and law enforcement guys understand that reference, and especially most likely Marine guys, would very much understand. No, that's so nice. And not in the Anna way. That is genuinely the sweetest, kindest way that could have come out of her face. Just my mouth is in my face, correct? Yes, that was a rhetorical question. So, and again, if people get offended by that, it's one of those, well, why? I mean, is my mouth still in my face? I could have swore that that's how that works. I could have swore that this is my mouth and this is my face. So, unless that changed. Just saying. So, I did give multiple examples. I did. A bunch of people just didn't want to listen. And it's kind of funny because I remember this one thing that Pastor Mackenzie at Old Tenet Presbyterian Church used to say every now and then. And when he would say it, it was quite poignant at the time. And so I'll end this particular video for my official YouTube channel, Reverend MeeLing, on this point. Everybody has 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you should do twice as much listening as you do speaking. And that was from the pastor. Then again, Pastor Mackenzie was a chaplain in the United States of America's Army branch of the Armed Forces. So, again, in that regard, maybe that has hypothetically something to do with in that regard as far as how I was raised. Because of, that particular influence very much so. And, despite the fact that certain individuals might not like that, that is a you problem and not a me problem. Because I really, truthfully, for example, if you heard that tap, that would be the neighbors in 736. Just saying. And so, if there were situations beyond, because, when people, I knew people talked about me behind my back. I knew that. I had been told. Sometimes by individuals that the people who were doing the running of their mouth behind my back, that they spoke with, informed me of. And usually it was just one of those, well, if that person has that to say, they can say it to my face. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it at that, and it is what it is. Because I will say the exact same thing, to someone's face that I have ever discussed at any point in time. I'm not going to say it behind your back. I will say it straight to your face. No hesitation. And I have. But then again, I am me. And so, I don't think people understood that, yeah, I'll say it straight to your face. I'm not going to hide that. I can't anyway. And so, yeah. So I've heard about plenty of times, and not unless I was told that, others viewed me in certain ways that was different than what was told to my face by those individuals. It realistically wasn't until much later that I ever, thought about it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, your choice. But in regards to my Medal of Honor art project, yeah, that's something that if there were hypothetically individuals who hypothetically wanted to get revenge, well, I guess the revenge is technically to yourselves, because if it was to get back at me for anything, whichever, aspect in various regards, depending on who. Well, how does it feel to figure out that I didn't figure that out until I was essentially told to contact other individuals, and other individuals figured it out far quicker before I did? And whoever they contacted before I ever contacted them, just saying, 2 ears, 1 mouth. You guys have a good one. Like, share, and subscribe to my official channel, Reverend MeeLing. Go to my website, www.susanmeeling.com. Have a good one.